If you guys have any questions to start us off, what are you guys curious about when it comes to your nutrition or nutrition in general? Nutrition labels. How to read them? Okay, that's on our next slide. So today we're going to be covering how to track, how to read nutrition labels, how to make grocery lists, and then how to meal prep or meal plan. So any questions related to that, we'll hold off as we go through the presentation. But do you guys have any questions about hydration, protein?
Can I grab the list that the dietitian gave me for my daughter so you can go over it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I kind of want to about creatine.
Creatine? What are you curious about? What it does, why it's important?
Yeah, I don't take it. But somebody does here, and she's always taking it, and I'm just, what is her name? I don't even use it.
Creatine is important mainly because it helps with water retention, helps with storage of muscles as far as glycogen goes. The more glycogen you have, the more nutrients that you can store in your muscles. The more nutrients that you can store in the muscles, the better that you can perform and recover from exercise. So it acts as an aid in recovery. The better your recovery, the better your performance.
Does it matter what kind though? I think she gets hers at Walmart.
That's where I got one. I got the.
Yes and no.
I didn't get the powdered one, I got the capsules. So it comes with 60 capsules, and I take 2 before I come and then 2 after. And their recovery since I've been taking them has been completely different from before I was taking them.
They're also finding as an association, by accident, that creatine is also acting as a nootropic, mainly in women. They haven't really found it in men yet, but mainly with women with sleep deprivation, which is kind of interesting. So it's not 100%, but that's just something that curiously going on with creatine that they're looking into. As far as what creatine to get, you want to do creatine monohydrate. There is no need to pay extra amount for anything that says fast absorbing creatine monohydrate, because the saturation period for creatine is 30 days, no matter how you do it, whether you superload, take 5 milligrams, whatever you do, it takes 30 days for it to fully saturate in your blood, for it to actually be useful and effective. So you want to make sure that you take it consistently every single day. The time of day, and not as important, but for 30 days and then thereafter. If you miss a day after the 30-day period, it's not like your blood levels crash with no creatine. It's just that you want to make sure that you're saturated, and then beyond that, you want to take it every day to make sure that you're experiencing the long-term effects of it, benefits. As far as creatine monohydrate goes, very simple, that's what you're going for. Anything else on the label that they try to sell you for a fast absorbing kind or an upcharge on it, there's no need for it. I would say make sure that your supplements are all NSF and GMP certified, which means, because supplements are not a regulated industry. So essentially, you can put anything onto a label and then you can put anything in the bottle, and no one's going to say or do anything. California is the first state to actually start regulating that pretty heavily. So when you buy supplements now, if they're being regulated correctly, you'll get a notification upon your checkout that you have to submit OK for lead poisoning and for other heavy metals in supplements, because that's what they're starting to regulate in the state of California. Outside of that, companies have to pay for third parties to come in, test their supplements, take those supplements back to their labs, see what's in there, and then they come back and say hey, they have our stamp of approval because what they say is in there, and exactly what they say is the amount that's in there. Because what happens too is Bang and Rain got sued because they said that they were putting creatine and other B12 compounds in their drinks, and they were putting trace amounts. So the consumption of that wasn't the actual supplementation of what people were trying to get the benefit from, so then they got sued.
I've been hearing that certain supplements are actually causing kidney disease.
They can. Kidneys are responsible. They're the filter of the blood, right? So anything that you use to saturate your blood, like creatine, or if you eat a lot of protein, it can put a lot of work on your kidneys. So it is important for you guys to get your blood work done. I recommend it every time you go in for your yearly checkup with your doctor, get blood work done. Have them look at your stuff, because if you're taking supplements and you're eating a lot of protein, you're taking a lot of creatine, you do want to make sure that your kidneys are functioning properly. If your kidneys are starting to test a little bit high, your blood work comes back with high kidney levels, they're slightly inflamed, just cool it off a little bit. The benefit of creatine is not worth any amount of kidney dysfunction or inflammation. It is a performance enhancement, not a necessity for survival. So my recommendation is, if your kidneys are healthy, if you're a healthy person, you work out consistently, you sleep well. Once you sleep well, you're eating well, and you're exercising consistently, that's when you add on performance enhancements. You don't start with creatine and then start working out and then sleep better, right? So supplements are an addition to your healthy habits, your lifestyle, and your exercise. They're not a solution to a problem. Make sense? Any questions about that? All right, Jill and Mike are late beyond what they said, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So as far as nutrition labels go, this was the newly updated nutrition label. This was probably a couple years ago that it came out. So the most important things that you guys are going to be paying attention to are total fat, saturated fat, total carbohydrates, dietary fiber, included sugars, and protein. So essentially everything that's on there, right? So as far as macro counting goes, the important components that you guys need to pay attention to is the protein to fat ratios. So I honestly just pulled this label from something random on Google Images. I don't know what food it's for, but as far as like macro distribution goes, this would be a carbohydrate heavy food, okay? So it has 37 grams of carbohydrates, and remember that 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories per gram, right? So the majority of the calories, which is right here, is coming from carbohydrates, which a lot of it is coming from added sugars. Now, the important thing about the sugar breakup here, this is something that's new, right? So when you used to look on the back of a food label, you used to say total sugars. You didn't know what was naturally occurring and you didn't know what was added. You want to avoid foods with high included sugars. So that means that whoever's producing this food is taking white sugar and dumping it into the cooking process, the preservative process. However they're adding it in, they're just dumping sugar in there. So it's completely unnecessary.
Does the fiber cancel out some of the carbs in the same amount of how much fiber is in there?
So there are certain foods that are designed and keto labeled as like, they'll say 0 carbs and they'll say a lot of dietary fiber. Where that comes from is you eat carbs that cost more calories than they provide in the digestion process, and therefore it equals 0 calories. Yes, I'm not necessarily on board with that because the absorption of nutrients doesn't happen at the end. It happens throughout digestion, so you are still pulling some calories from that. Dietary fiber is mostly important for a healthy gut for digestion purposes. So I would say have high fiber foods for that reason, not for low calorie reasons. The majority of the time people are having a hard time eating enough calories, so I'm not so much as concerned as finding a way to like get people to a net neutral carbohydrate based thing. I'm more concerned about getting people like digestion moving slowly, making sure that you guys are getting carbohydrates. Because if you look on the right side of the screen, when you look at carbohydrates, they're the primary fuel source for your body. They are the preferred fuel source, okay? So if your body does not have carbohydrates, where does it go to for glucose next? Protein, then muscles beyond that. Fat is such a strenuous process of breaking it down into glucose. It is the absolute last resort for your body. So your body will go everywhere else first before it goes to fat. So that's why when people come in on low carb diets, especially when you're exercising very heavily, my first recommendation is that we start eating carbohydrates. Because first of all, you're gonna feel better during your workouts, you're gonna perform better. The better you perform, the better your results are gonna be in the gym. Then as far as fueling the body goes, if your body has the immediate fuel that it needs, then it's going to utilize protein appropriately for what we want it to, which is muscle recovery, protein enzymes for many functions throughout the entire body. Protein enzymes and amino acids are highly important for several functions throughout the body. So if we're utilizing our protein for glucose, we're not optimizing our protein for the functions that we want it to be used for. Okay, so carbohydrates are important. So as far as like finding a way to net neutralize your carbohydrates with like dietary intake of fiber, I wouldn't say is like necessarily a priority of fiber. It's more digestion based, long-term health based, as far as like keeping your blood clean, keeping your arteries clear, having a healthy gut. Now, as far as the nutrition label goes, the amount of calories is always an amount per serving. Very rarely, you'll get it on like smaller snacks, well, it'll still say 1 serving, amount per serving, and then it'll say the calorie amount. Most foods that you guys are gonna be eating and looking on the back of are gonna be broken up into, it has 8, 10, 12 servings or whatever, and these are the amount of calories in it. This is where people get into trouble with like snack foods, like chips or whatever. Like, oh, it's just a little bag. Those little bag of chips, if you look on the back, they're 2 servings. If you look on the back of energy drinks, 2 servings, unless it's like Rain or Bang or something, there'll be 1 serving. But most everything that we consume is multiple servings served in like a bigger container. And just like our consumer culture just consumes all of it at once. And then they look at the back and they assume that it's the amount of calories that it is. So if you were to eat this entire container of food, it would be 8 times 230 calories, which I think is around like 2,000 calories, which would be a ton. So make sure that you guys are paying attention to the serving the serving size, I recommend that you measure everything in grams. So when you guys are looking at food labels and you're looking at food scales, meal prepping, meal planning, just measure it in grams. Because a cup is so subjective, right? When it comes to like oats and like dry rice, it's like super straightforward. But once you cook rice, do you smash the rice down or do you just scoop the rice? What if you have sticky rice versus like, not so well done rice? I don't know what that would be called. So like the variety of rices and the way that you can cook things make it like super confusing as far as like, okay, how do I accurately track this with a cup? It's way easier just to like weigh it in grams and you use less utensils. Okay, because you're gonna have to have something to level off the cup anyway. So if you just place your container on top of a scale and then you scoop stuff into it and you're like, oh, this is 143 grams, dope, tear, and then move on to the next thing. Okay, so as far as total fat goes, trans fats have to still be on the label, but it's actually illegal now. So there's no amount of trans fats that you should ever and probably will ever find in your food, but it's still gonna be on the nutrition label and it should always be 0 because they are illegal. As far as everything else, you're gonna see saturated fat here. So the recommendation for saturated fat is gonna be that you guys have a lower intake of that compared to mono and polyunsaturated fat. Those are what are considered our healthy fats. Saturated fat is considered an unhealthy fat. I would go as far to argue that if you're eating naturally occurring saturated fat, you're safer and better off than eating processed saturated fat. What I mean is saturated fat is a naturally occurring fat in certain animal proteins, so you're fine to consume those in moderation, right? You don't want all of your fat to come from saturated, but you're safe to eat red meat, you're safe to eat chicken. Like a chicken thigh versus a chicken breast is around 3.5 grams of fat per serving in saturated fat. You're not gonna die eating a chicken thigh versus a chicken breast, okay? So what we're talking about saturated fat being the evil marker of high blood pressure, cardiac events, diseases, stuff like that, is a lot of people eat a lot of processed foods that are high in saturated fat. And it's the combination of the included added sugar, the processed foods, all the ingredients in that, in combination with the saturated fat that are putting people in a bad position. But if you're eating a whole foods diet and you get some saturated fats from animal proteins that are naturally occurring, you're gonna be fine, okay? So you do wanna be mindful of that. It is not legally required for them to label mono and polyunsaturated fats on labels. You will find it on certain health food brands that will label it. And so that's just something to be mindful as you're going through the process. If you are curious, you can Google it and it will tell you. There's certain websites that will break down all the micronutrients of a specific food if you're curious about like what fat content is exactly in there. Because it could be all polyunsaturated or it could be all monounsaturated. It just kind of depends on the food. Now, as far as cholesterol, sodium, I don't want you guys to worry about that. That's something I'm gonna be looking at for you guys as far as like your micronutrients goes on your like nutrition entries. So I'll be concerned with that. You guys don't worry about that. As far as carbohydrates go, you don't need to be focused on tracking dietary fiber. When you track your food, the app will auto-calculate that for you. I'm gonna make sure that you guys are getting anywhere from 20 to 35, depending on like age, height, gender, and tolerance. So some people, what happens is when they start eating healthy, they feel like they're bloating and they can't eat a lot. And it's usually because they're adding fiber back into their diet. And fiber is hard to digest. It slows your digestion process down, so it can be difficult to digest. So just be mindful of that as we like start eating. I think I had 2 years ago, I had this lady who I was training at Crunch, and I told her to start eating like salads to introduce fiber back into her diet. And she was tracking her food, and she did 2 full cups of like spinach and like leafy greens. And she was so bloated for like 48 hours. Like she came in for a session. I like had to send her home because she couldn't squat without like stomach pain and stuff like that. So just be mindful of like how much fiber you're introducing at one time at one meal. Like slowly trickle it into your diet. And then after like 30 to 60 days, like your body will be totally fine. It'll adjust.
And what do you think about like Metamucil and things like that, like a supplemental fiber? I was gonna start my daughter on it because she needs more fiber.
That's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that. As far as protein content goes, you guys are obviously going to want to pay attention to protein. Be careful with foods that are labeled as high protein foods. So what's happening now is that companies are taking like processed snacks and different versions of food because it's not a regulated industry. They're just slapping high protein on like everything that they have because they add in a little extra protein to it. So just be mindful of like the macro splits on it, because it'll be like 10 grams of protein, but it'll be 12 grams of fat, and they'll label it as high protein. Is that high protein or is that high fat? High fat. Do we know why it's high fat? Has more fat than protein. But what is it? I don't know what ratio that would be. That's pretty close to like a 1.1, 1.2. Essentially, fat is double the amount of calories as protein per gram. So 9 calories per gram of fat, 4 calories per gram of protein. So when you guys are reading the label on 90-10 beef, is 10% of the calories fat, or is it more? When you guys are eating 90-10 beef, is 10% of the calories fat or not? What does the 10% mean?
It's 10% fat, but that means it's 20% calories. It's twice as much as protein. So protein would be, we're just doing fast numbers. That would be 90 and then 20.
Yeah, it's significantly higher than what you think, right? So when you actually start tracking ground meats that are 90-10, you're like, oh wow, why is there so much fat in this? It's only 10% fat. It's actually significantly higher. And then when you start getting into the 85-15 route, you're pretty much eating almost like 50% fat as far as calories go. So it's pretty sneaky on how food labels work on that side. The best bet is to flip it over and look at the back. The back is where they have to be honest. The front of a label, they don't have to be. So the back is where we want to be looking for all of our food. As far as this goes, this is just how many vitamins or minerals are in it, and this is the amount that is like relevant to your daily intake. I don't want you guys worrying about that. Your micronutrients is something that I'm going to be paying attention to for you guys. So you just track your food, all looking at the micronutrients, and if I'm concerned, then I'll let you guys know. I do recommend that everybody takes a multivitamin or a green supplement, because you would have to eat about 4,000 calories for the average diet to get all the micronutrients that you need in on a daily basis. And the majority of people who are eating 4,000 calorie plus diets are typically athletes, but they're not eating enough nutritious foods to hit that calorie amount, because it's impossible to digest that amount of food. So even more so, they should be taking like a supplement.
Do you recommend one?
Yeah, ours.
So, how, my question is, like, I would go out and buy the leanest piece of boneless chuck roast you can do,
Mm-hmm.
and I ground it up, and that's what I use for my ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
How do I track that? I mean, because it's not like 90-10 or,
Mm-hmm.
so do I just label it under chuck roast?
So you would grind it up and then just track it as chuck roast.
Okay.
And then whatever was in there fat content wise and meat content wise is the same ground up as it is normal. Because right, when people are making ground beef, like in the back, they're taking fat and adding it to meat. And then they're deciding what percent it's going to be. You're just taking a normal cut of chuck roast and grinding it yourself. So whatever fat content existed there before is going to be the same that it is post grinding. So it'll just be the same thing as tracking it goes. It's probably actually more accurate that way because it's more evenly dispersed. So you probably get a more accurate read grinding up your chuck roast and then eating it that way. So that would be more accurate.
Okay.
Do we have any questions about the nutrition label? No? Perfectly straight clear? Okay, this is super short presentation because it's mostly just like chit-chatting, and then we're going to workshop and get your guys' meals and everything prepped out. So there's 2 strategies that I recommend when it comes to nutrition. These are from an outside coaching perspective. If we're just talking about like time, energy, and effort, this is the way to go for your life if you're trying to be like the most efficient that you can possibly be, so you're not spending your entire life like sitting down worried about what you're eating and consuming on a daily basis. Meal prep or meal plan. The only difference between these two is when you meal prep, you cook the food ahead of time, you put it into containers, you measure it, you heat it up in the microwave, you eat it. When you meal plan, you buy all the food, you put it in your fridge, and then you cook it as you need to eat it. I have never meal planned in my entire life because it stresses me out. Okay? For me, cooking all of my food, putting it into containers, pre-measuring it out, knowing exactly what I'm going to eat for the entire week stacked into my fridge, and that being my only option, calms me down. Everybody, though, has their own style that we need to decide and like find that fits you, that doesn't stress you out. Some people are stressed out by the idea that their week is being predetermined. And they're like, I can't imagine like deciding what I'm going to eat like 7 days in advance and then being forced to do so and eat so. So whatever fits your guys' like mind and lifestyle. Huh? Nope. I just leave it in the fridge. I eat it 7 days later. It worked perfectly fine up until 2 weeks ago.
Did you freeze you out?
No, that did happen to me once though, and I had to buy ice for like a week, and that was terrible. But I didn't have to cook, so it was all good.
You also didn't eat for a week, so that's also fine.
What'd you say?
You also didn't eat for a week later.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to eat. That was great. I got salmonella.
Oh.
Yeah,
You should have popped it all freezing.
yeah. I just threw it away because I threw away everything in my entire house because I'm like, I'm not chancing it with anything. But by show of hands, who's interested in meal prepping? And then meal planning? Chanel, are you interested in anything?
I want to hear everyone's options. I'm gonna think about it.
These are the two options.
I think, no, I mean, I'm gonna think about everyone's doing. I don't know, like, I probably won't meal prep for dinner, just because I have a kid. It's like,
Mhm.
I probably won't be like that. Maybe for like lunch and breakfast.
And that brings up a perfect point. There is a world in which like you can exist in like a happy medium of doing both, like prepping all of your lunches because you're at work, and the only option when you're at work is to pack your lunch before or the night before, or you go out and eat. So if you mess up and forget your lunch or something happens, you're going out to eat, and that's like your only option at that point. Because I recommend that you eat if you forget your lunch.
So there's a third option, just
Huh?
a little bit of both.
No,
Yeah.
it's more like I'm compromising on the two options. But we're gonna move on to the next slide, and everyone's gonna pull out their phones. Oh,
I need my phone.
she got cooked. Everybody else has devices. Okay, everyone has a tracking app. I know me and Tom are doing something a little different. I kind of put Tom onto Chronometer a little bit sooner. But essentially, we're going to be getting our new app built. Our iOS got released, and then I had issues with it. So I submitted them to fix it, and then now they had an error in the programming. So the app is going to be delayed a little bit. But trust me, it's worth it. It was not what I wanted, and it would not have been fun. But anyway, we're going to be able to track from multiple different nutrition apps with you guys. So, yeah. So if you guys want to have Kahunas, if you guys, not Kahunas, but you guys can use Kahunas for now. You guys can use MyFitnessPal, Fitbit. You guys can use Chronometer, which is what I recommend. You can use any one of those apps, and it'll be able to integrate with the new app that we're going to be launching. So whatever app you guys want to use for tracking your nutrition, you're going to want to break that out right now.
Will my bariatric app work with your new one?
Does it connect to your Apple Health app?
Does it connect to my what?
Your Apple Health app?
I don't have an Apple Health app. Well, it connects to my Samsung.
I would have to get back to you on that because I would need to make sure that I can integrate that.
Okay.
I'm not sure. They have like a list of like 90 something apps that we can like connect. I just need to find out.
The name of it.
Yeah. Send me the name of the app that you're using for your tracking, and then send me the app name for Samsung. That's the equivalent of Apple Health.
Okay.
And then if you ever want an iPhone, we can work on that. No? Okay. So we'll also release the presentation, so like this list.
Right here.
Like about
Huh?
There's Health and there's Samsung.
Samsung Health?
But Samsung Health isn't
Like Apple Health?
like Apple.
Okay.
You just want. So Samsung doesn't have like they switched their.
Okay, so then probably not, but you can send me that app anyway and I'll check. So essentially what we just talked about, step one is going to be picking your tracking app. I recommend Chronometer or MyFitnessPal, as these will sync to our new app as well as a lot of other apps. So just pick an app, pull it up right now. Good?
I already have MyFitnessPal.
Good? Good? Everyone knows who their nutrition logs are? Is anyone lost? Okay, now what I want you guys to do, this is exactly what I do every Sunday morning right before I hop to the store. Also, shout out to Costco for denying me. I called all the locations and they said no. That I was gonna bring you, I just wanted to bring you guys in and like film our experience, and they said no.
What was their reasoning for saying
They didn't. Thanks, bud. They didn't have a reason other than it was against their policy to have people filming. And then I proceeded to say that, you know how many videos are posted online of people filming in Costco? I was just trying to be polite, and we went back and forth a little bit, but
Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
yeah, we're gonna try that out at Food Max.
I'm kind of looking
All right, so let's dial back in, y'all. So step 2 is you guys are just going to start creating meals. Right in your app right now. Start plugging food in for what you want to eat next week.
What if you already have it
If you already have it,
written out?
put it into your app because I need to be able to see it.
So it would be under plan.
Huh?
Would it be under plan for MyFitnessPal?
You would just hit this plus sign here and then log food.
Oh.
So you guys are just going to start creating meals. You can use our recipe guides, our recipe books. Everything is broken down in there for you guys as far as like serving sizes go and macronutrients in the recipe book. In the Prestige Labs, it's just going to be serving sizes. When you put it into the Kahuna's app, then you guys will see what the macro distributions are post entry. But in the rest, I have another recipe book that I've sent out to a couple people. That one will tell you the macronutrients on the top of the recipe. I will say in both recipe books, everything is designed for single serving, not multiple servings. That's what it's designed for. If you're eating it in multiple servings, then make sure to track the difference of that. So you just cut the ingredients list in half. Now, the reason that we're inputting our meals in the app and we're kind of creating meals together here is once you guys can ask questions, if you get fatigue in making decisions, then we can help you guys with like different food ideas and food swaps. And there's like 12 people here who probably all eat a little bit different. So we all have ideas of like what tastes good and like what we like to pair with other things. So if you get stuck, feel free to just shout and then we can all throw our ideas out there.
I'm sorry. What does it mean when it says bulk import ingredients?
Are you creating a recipe?
Yeah, I just was doing the one I did last night. Just kind
Yeah. So let's do that.
Oh, you can just.
Paste the type of ingredient list here and we'll match them with our foods in our database. So whatever that recipe was, go back and copy all the ingredients and then paste it in there and then it'll auto upload everything for you into MyFitnessPal.
Oh, okay.
So that way that you don't have to like half a teaspoon of salt, half a cup of heavy cream, all that kind of stuff. Just track it on one day and then copy that day to the other days. Instead of trying to track it 6 times throughout the week, just make it really simple for yourself. And then if something happens, life happens, and you need to edit your food or whatever, you can go in and make the micro changes that you need to instead of making it a chore to track every day. Now, if you're going to be eating separate meals, what I recommend is that you have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday palette, and then you have a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday palette. So track one day of the same food that you're going to eat on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you're going to eat the same thing on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. That way you guys don't have to sit all week and track all your food and then you're mixing and matching stuff throughout the week and then you're constantly adjusting all your calories. Just make the commitment that like in truth, like long term, we all eat the same food every single day. If I did a dietary recall with all of you guys and I sat you down and asked you what you ate for the last week and then I did it for the next 4 weeks, y'all would be eating pretty much the same foods every single week. You're just not consciously aware of it as you're going through the process. Very rarely do I ever come across someone who's eating like Indian, Thai, Chinese, Japanese, American, Southern, like going to eating like these different genres of. Okay. You already have your grocery list made?
Basically,
Okay. How'd you make your grocery list?
I looked at my refrigerator to see. I made my meal plan as of Wednesday because I'm retentive that way. And I looked at my refrigerator to see what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just put what I don't have, and that's what I have to pick up.
Okay. And you know the quantities that you have to pick up how? So the quantity of chicken that you have to buy or rice or.
Oh, meat I don't have to buy because we buy in bulk. So
Okay.
our like my everything that I portion out, like
Mhm.
when I do our meat, is for exactly 3 people.
Okay, so you're set there.
Yeah.
And how about the quantities for vegetables and
I
stuff
just
like that?
buy like I don't know, I just buy enough to know that it's for the week.
Off a vibe? You vibe buy?
No, from the years of experience of,
Right.
of buying, okay, you know, like 4 zucchini is gonna last me maybe 3 days at my
Mhm.
house.
So-
So I have to buy 8 to last me the whole week.
Got it. How did you track the quantity of zucchini that you're eating?
I measure it before I cook it.
You measure it before you cook it. Okay. So how much zucchini did you have put into your tracker app?
I think I put half a
Half a zucchini? Okay.
Because zucchinis usually I cook by itself. I don't. put
Right.
it into my-
You're getting the zucchinis that are like this big, right?
The Italian ones that are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was thinking like a zucchini like that. I'm like, oh my god, 8 zucchinis.
No, we get the Italian zucchinis, and we do eat a lot of zucchini at my
Okay. So when you're tracking, you said about half a zucchini. So you just cut it in half and then. Okay. Perfect.
Hey, son, I'm gonna have to call you back. Can you please get the
That's
kids?
like a good point. Like when you are tracking, like, are you weighing cooked meat?
Yes.
Uncooked meat?
Everything cooked.
Everything cooked.
Everything cooked. Yes. Yes. Rice. Mikey. Make sure to track everything cooked, because if you do a half a cup of raw white rice, it's very different than a cup of cooked white rice as far as like calorie density goes. As far as cooked meat goes, very different as well. Cooking 6 ounces of chicken, and then you're probably eating 5 ounces, depending on like your skill of cooking.
But on the package then, like
Mhm.
batter package, is that for cooked rice or is that for uncooked rice?
Ooh, that's a good question. So it depends on the brand. The brand that I use, Batsami rice, is uncooked portioning. So I prepare my food as far as like it's uncooked, and then when I cook it, I just measure it out on the scale, and that's what I put into my app. So when I track my food, I put Batsami cooked rice, and then I'm good to go. And then that's how I cook it. But as far as like food labels go, some rices, like the back of them, like a whole bag will be uncooked, and then you do a like, you know, the boxes of stuff that will be cooked. Oh, you don't eat that, but some of those are cooked. Like some packs are cooked, and then there's been ones that like for couscous that are uncooked. So make sure to look, because it will say on the back, right?
Oh wow, this is cool. But when you track, you always put cooked, right?
Yes. Yes, but on the food label, it'll be uncooked here. It'll say in the serving size if it's cooked or uncooked. As far as protein goes,
So if it's uncooked then you would just, however many servings you're making. So say if you're making servings for 5 days, right?
mhm,
Uh,
make the
one-
uncooked serving.
Uncooked serving for 5. So if you're doing five servings,
Mhm.
you rice once a day. Okay, make it simple.
Yeah,
Right. You could just divide that by 5, like the total amount by 5, or just if you're doing a 1-to-1, that's easy. If you're
Correct.
doing like a 2-to-1,
yes. That was more of a statement than a question, right?
maybe, yeah.
Okay.
I need a confirmation.
Yes, we're on the same page. I agree with you. I just want to make sure me saying yes wasn't not answering your question. But yeah, no, that is a good question. So you guys are reading the back of food labels for making sure that like it has the right macro distributions. But once you cook the food, don't trip on the back of the food label. Just put it into your tracker and rock based off of cooked chicken thigh. How you cook your food too also matters. That being said, don't douse all your food in oil. Oil isn't that great for you, so don't eat a lot of it. Just use spray oil if you need it for taste and texture, but outside of that, it's not necessary. You can cook almost every single, actually, let me rephrase. You can cook everything without oil. It's not necessary. I've been doing it for like 3 years, so I know for a fact that everything can be cooked without oil. So it's not like a necessary additive to your cooking experience, even though it says it on the ingredients list on the back to add it in. It's not necessary. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so this would be like an example of like meal planning or meal prepping. So meal 1, today, you're gonna have chicken breast cooked with rice, green beans cooked, and then the amount that you're gonna have is 100 grams, 50 grams.
Yeah, because tomorrow I was gonna do the corned beef, the potatoes, the carrots,
Okay, so
and
let's
the cabbage. Because
do that.
tomorrow we have practice, so I figured I'll just throw it in the crock pot and then
So we have corned beef.
yeah.
From where?
I got it from the meat shop on Cruzani.
What's that place called?
It's the little Mexican store on Cruzani. The one right next to like Jack in the Box and Arco and
Let's do. Oop, no. Cancel. Yeah. Corned beef. corned beef. And then we're gonna do corned beef. Crock pot. Cured corned brisket. Beef cured corned brisket. So is it a big chunk of meat, right? Or is it like, it's a chunk of meat though, right? Cooked corned beef brisket.
Because on my fridge I have a calendar, so it has every day of the week, and then every day I put what we're gonna have that day.
Mm-hmm. And then what else are we having
I
with
just
that?
went and bought a bunch of containers last month, like meal prep containers.
Mm-hmm. And then what are you eating with that?
I have russet potatoes, the big carrots, and cabbage.
Do you know how many potatoes you're gonna put in?
I don't know, I only do like 2 or 3 because I'm the only one that really eats them.
Okay, so what you would do is essentially like, when you get the scale, you'd put it in the crock pot, right? And then you'd scoop the food out, like separately. So you'd scoop out the meat first, then you'd add potatoes, then you'd add carrots, and then just see what amounts it's going up, right? So you add 100 grams of the corned beef, and then you'll add 100 grams of the potatoes, then 100 grams of the carrots or whatever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean,
Go away.
it's just seasoning spinach or like,
Okay.
I put into it.
So corned beef, russet potatoes, and then we'll do carrots.
And then I have the carrots and then like a small cabbage.
Cooked. Carrots cooked. Probably gonna eat a shit ton of carrots. That meal sounds hella fire. I love shit like that. Okay, and then we'll do cabbage.
Mm-hmm.
Cabbage, is it red or green?
Green.
I like how your phone like responds to your movements. It like vibrates.
Oh.
Cabbage green, cooked, fat, not added in cooking. The fuck? Yeah, that's the right one because it's 0 grams fats. I don't know why it says it that way, but you're not gonna eat that much fucking cabbage, so that's crazy.
I'll probably eat like half of it and then just keep the other half for later.
Probably say about 20 grams. Cool. So now, the thing to be mindful of for you. So if you ate both those meals in the same day, you'd only be getting in 700 calories. 699, 55 grams of protein, 55 grams of carbs, 23 grams of fat. What you are eating, as far as like what I have tracked macronutrient breakdown wise, is fucking on point. Okay, so this is the macro distribution that we're looking for. So you're right on the money with like what foods that you're eating. You just need to make sure that they're in the right proportion, so you're getting enough protein and
I
carbohydrates.
even got one of the small rolls of the ground turkey. We've been doing ground turkey over beef.
Oh, yeah, no, that's perfect. So let's add a meal for ground turkey. So how do you cook your ground turkey?
I just put it in the skillet. I don't really add nothing to it. Well, I do the Himalayan salt, and that's it.
No, that's perfect. Ground turkey, do you know if it's 93.7, 90.10?
90-10.
90.10? Okay.
Yeah, that one I never know what to make with. I'm kind of like, ooh, I got my cat.
So 90%. All right, here it goes. It's fucking deciding what we're doing. 90% lean taco seasoned ground turkey by Jenny O.
No, it's just
Ground turkey 90-10 by Jenny O. It doesn't matter if it's by Jenny O. You're eating 90-10. It's the same across the board with every company. 90-10 is 90-10. Okay. Go in here. 100 grams seems to be the right serving for your food. Okay, what are you going to eat with that? Brown rice? Let's do brown rice.
That's what I'm saying. That one I don't know. Yeah, because the kids got their summer like food stamps, so they wanted ground turkey.
That's cute. Got little fitness babies. Brown rice cook, we're going to do 100 grams again because that shit's on point for you. And then vegetable. You have green beans and carrots already used, so what do you have left? Broccoli, spinach,
No, I'd have to go buy it.
buy it? Okay. Broccoli is a good one, nice and cheap.
Yeah, they'll eat it.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to make stuff that they'll eat too.
Don't eat
Like,
whatever
as
you
I
make.
change. My oldest will. Well, you saw Javaid, bro.
Mhm.
That's how we eat anything. Mia is my super picky eater.
Okay.
And then the toddlers are just like, it's food, whatever.
And then are you eating anything else in your day?
I had oatmeal.
Oatmeal. Okay. What type of oatmeal?
I don't really eat lunch. I mainly eat like a small breakfast because by the time I get home from work, I'm not really hungry.
Hmm.
And then dinner is my biggest meal of the day.
What type of oatmeal do you eat?
Just the Quaker oats, the plain ones. I have those. I have eggs.
I think it's
turkey bacon.
WH.
Just put wash your sister sauce. See if it comes up.
Who's it by? Is it by the Quaker dude?
Yeah.
Is it rolled or old fashioned?
Rolled. Well, I have both, but
Cooked for that. Cool. Probably 150 grams. Boom. Okay.
and then I have eggs. I have turkey bacon. I have Great Value yogurt.
Okay, so what I want you to do.
I don't know. Just kind of depends on how I feel when I get home on how much
No, you're
I
good.
feel like cooking.
So I want you to track in another breakfast and another meal on your own on that day. Okay. Where are we at? Okay, cool. Lost? Okay, cool. This is this place that we need to be.
Once you maybe, can you screen share Kahunas on your phone and do it up there? The issues Kahunas across.
Yeah. All right. No, I have it on my phone though.
I tried to use the other one, but it didn't make as much sense, so then I switched to Google. I tried to use the.
Hey, that worked.
Huh?
I tried to use the chronometer first, but I wanted,
A bunch of information.
yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, there's a setting to undo in there that I could do, but where are you tracking now in Kahunas?
So I went back to first,
Kahunas? Okay, that's fine.
but you had said you recommended the other.
Yeah, I'll help you with chronometer. Okay. So, is my phone up there? All right, so my calorie budget is 2,510 calories. So I'm not going to track today because obviously I'm cooking today. So I'm going to move my pin to Sunday because that's the first thing that I'm going to be eating my meal prep. If I cook today, prep today, do all of that, right? So this is what I do ahead of time. I add 4 meals because I have 3 meals a day and then all my snacks go under meal 4. So for breakfast, I'm going to be eating 3 large cooked eggs. Boom. So I switch it from grams to egg because I'm just going to throw 3 eggs in there. So this would be an example of what Tom brought up earlier of if you tracked cook or look for cooked eggs, you guys are going to be finding the hard-boiled eggs that are prepackaged in like those containers. So I had to undo it and I had just to go to regular eggs. 100% for a fact, a large egg has 70 calories. That is not disputed. So like large egg has 70 calories. I'm eating 3 of them. There's 210. That is the macro distribution ahead of time. Now, with my large eggs, I also eat egg whites, and that is purely based off of me having prepped in the past and knowing for a fact that if I eat 3 eggs, that is too high in fat calorie-wise for me not to add in egg whites to balance out the amount of protein that I need in my breakfast for it to be distributed for my macros. Does that make sense? Because egg whites is 100% protein, and that is it. So if you ever get in trouble and you're not eating enough protein, just egg whites. They're great. Okay, so I eat an absurd amount of that. So I do 1 cup with my 3 eggs and I blend it all together, which is a lot of food. Like you guys would be surprised, like when you start eating healthy, like the amount of food that you're gonna have to consume to hit like a calorie goal, it's gonna be a lot. Your plates are gonna look super big, but it's a lot of fun because then you get to eat a lot of food. As long as you cook good and you know how to cook, like it's a good experience. So as far as like your food tasting good, that's where like seasonings come into play. If you guys are in your content library on Kahunas, there's a seasonings guide that gives you a bunch of 0 calorie, what? There is a seasonings guide and sauce guide for 0 calorie seasoning and sauces to make your guys' food like a good experience as far as like flavor goes. So that would be like the start of my breakfast. I've been doing like homemade sourdough bread. So instead of absolutely annihilating my mind and trying to figure out how to track that, I just track regular sourdough bread. You guys got to remember that like at the end of the day, your calories and macros are an educated assumption on your expenditure, and then that is subtracted by the amount of weight that I want you to lose, hypothetically, according to math. And then based off of what you enter and based off of what happens over the next 2 weeks, assuming that your entries are accurate, that's how I make adjustments to your calories. So if you guys make homemade sourdough bread and then you don't want to like input a like separate recipe for it and you'd rather just like use regular sourdough bread, the ingredients of sourdough bread are all the same like across the board. There's not like some secret ingredient different companies use. So the calories are going to be pretty spot on as long as you're measuring it gram wise, right? So sourdough bread, I actually do 100 grams. So 100 grams goes in there. Dope. And that's my breakfast. Now, I eat it with ketchup. So how I measure my ketchup is I put it on my plate first, and then I put my food on top of the ketchup. Because if I put ketchup on after the fact, I don't think that it picks up and reads it accurately. Because I'm eating like soup if I wait for it to like start adding the grams. Because like once your scales to get like to a certain numeric, if you're not paying for like a super expensive, nice, fancy scale, like at some point it's like just not picking up shit accurately, in my personal opinion, especially when it comes to like sauces. So I put my sauce first and then I put my eggs and everything on after that fact. And then I'll weigh my bread separately. But I do about like 50 to 70 grams of ketchup depending on like how much egg whites I have. Sometimes for my macros, I do like half a cup of egg whites. It just kind of depends on like the week. Because I use egg whites not as like something I want to eat. I use it as like a macronutrient adjustment tool. So sometimes it's a half a cup, sometimes it's a major cup. So was everyone watching that process? Yeah? Do we have questions about it? Okay. Super clear and straightforward, right? Okay, let's say that I want a different breakfast on day 2. Boop, boop, boop.
Alright, say you want to take that breakfast you just made and you want to add it to a different day.
Boom. See those 2 little windows?
Yeah.
It's not going to show me tapping it on the screen. So there's like a little content list where you can write notes on your meal. So you could say, hated this meal, loved this meal, great idea, make sure to track as a recipe. Or you can move over and you can hit duplicate. So those 2 little boxes that are clear.
Mine says copy meal to date or copy.
Copy meal from date or copy meal to date. So copy meal to date, and then you'll put tomorrow, and then June 23rd, 24th, 25th. Now, let's say that I forget to copy my day. I just copied it to my own day. So delete that. Boom. So let's say I'm on Monday. I can just hit the windows. I can copy meal from date, and I could say yesterday. Wait, what? Meal 1, right? Okay, go, boom. Oh yeah, yesterday. Okay, I don't know why that feature isn't working. But essentially, you can copy from day. So this day right here, meal 1, I just copy it today, and then I copy it to tomorrow, meal 1. Why is it copying? I don't know. It's bugging out right now, but I swear I use this every week. It normally does work.
You're on Sunday and Saturday.
Oh, that's why. Thanks, Valencia.
Yeah, so you just copied it to the same day 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, just twice, because I deleted it the last time. Copy meal 2 date, June 23rd, which is Monday. Let's see if it works. Boom. Okay. Dope. So it auto copies for you. Usually, whatever day that you're meal prepping on, you copy it to the following day afterwards, which is normally what I do. I've never done that before, but that's a part of the process. This is something you guys haven't done before, so there's going to be hiccups and issues like that, to where it's like, my first assumption was, this shit's broken, it doesn't work. It's immediately where my mind went. It like couldn't possibly be user error. And then Valencia was like, you're dumb. This is actually the answer. And it solved the problem. So make sure that you guys are asking questions, that you guys like work through the process. So as far as that goes, are there any other questions? Okay, so if you guys all turned your phones around, what would I see? Huh? Okay. Are all your circles happy? Okay.
But I would not be in my plan.
Huh?
But I would not be
Oh, all your meals are so happy. Good job. So happy. Very nice. You went off my meal plan? Let me see. Oh, the one that I just sent you?
Yeah.
Oh, just too low in carbs. Add a piece of fruit.
I didn't see my yogurt, my third meal.
Yeah, so you have 20 grams. That's good. Just, you have 20 grams of carbs.
You asked me.
Add in some fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let me twist your arm. You don't even have a little candy bar. I'm lying. Don't do that.
That's gonna happen no matter what, so I don't even think
Like you were saying before, like with your protein and adjusting.
Yeah. Just
Open something up.
there's only one way to find out if like what you plan to eat fits your macros, and it's by inputting it into the nutrition calculator and then seeing if it does or not, and then making adjustments. Every week that I do this, unless I eat the same thing as last week, I have to make micro adjustments. Now, usually for me, it's like protein content, so that's why I use the egg whites as like my protein fix. But for you guys, it's just gonna be like plugging it. It's like a reflex, like a skill like any other. Now, as far as making your grocery list, what you guys are gonna do is however many times that you're gonna be eating that meal is how many times you're gonna multiply it for your grocery list. So if you're gonna be eating 6 ounces of chicken for 3 meals of the week, times 3 by 6, that's 18 ounces, which is just over a pound. I recommend buying 1.5 pounds. So when you buy protein, you're gonna buy a little bit more than you think you need because it will shrink. And depending on like your cooking style and skill level will be how moist and how much weight is retained in the meat, which will determine how much you have left over when you're done. So like baking versus searing in a pan, completely different results as far as weight goes. If you cook a tri-tip at 400 degrees versus low and slow at 300 or 250, comes out completely 2 different weights. So it's just important like how you're gonna cook your food for like how much is actually gonna be left over for you to track. You good, Chanel?
know what you said, but it's not closing that for me.
Oh, we'll just have to add more or less of it depending.
You add more and more and more, but then I'm changing my calories and my protein also, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I added blueberries and strawberries to my yogurt.
Okay, so we're over on egg whites, so we're gonna go a little bit less on egg whites. Let's go 200. Less. 150.
I hate eggs.
Okay, see, now we're exactly on 114, 114.
Okay.
Booyah. Okay, so it looks like we need less fat. How important is that peanut butter to you?
Not.
Boom. See ya. Okay, so now I want everyone to make their grocery list. Everyone make their grocery list with their beautifully tracked little circles.
Are you gonna do it later?
Wait, what? No. What's going on?
I told I said.
That's right,
I don't
backup showed up. Do it.
The Trinity is here. Trying to bail?
I literally just did go buy all this food though on this plan.
Prove it.
You wanna come over and see?
Show me your receipt.
Oh, I might actually go.
I got you. Like, how do you convert it from grams to ounces?
Google, just ask it to convert grams to ounces.
Can't you, it doesn't give you the option on your thing to change it from grams to off.
Kahuna's is funky with that function. Sometimes it'll track it from like 100 grams to 100 ounces.
But you can go back in and change it from grams to ounces on the machine. That's not it.
Yes.
And then
I'm just trying to help her convert it because protein, when you buy proteins, it's shown to us in servings of ounces, not grams.
See, I've used so many, I've gotten so used to the bariatric app. I'll figure it out.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. My biggest thing was the reading of the labels because I remembered that the whole protein versus fat.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's my biggest thing, I need to cut down.
Okay. Yeah. So did you get your question answered as far as the nutrition labels go?
Yeah, but it never hurts to watch somebody else shop.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I know how I shop, but I shop for myself, my mom, and my
Mm-hmm.
significant other. My mom wants a bunch of fat, the other one's a Muslim who doesn't touch pork, and I can't do, so, and then I'm with my stuff, so it's always good to see other people so that I can do one meal and have 3 happy people.
Fair.
Which is almost impossible because someone's going to be playing about something.
Right. Did you do it? Did you need help?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I just don't really understand.
That's what I'm here for. Okay, so you have an Android or an Apple?
Apple.
So open up your Notes app. Good. And then just write grocery list or something.
Oh. I'll do it down here so it's connected.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. So then go back to your app. You said you wanted to eat that meal twice during the week, right? So click on the blue, edit. Good. So you're gonna need 100 grams of chicken breast. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna,
Oh, gonna convert it.
yep. So
Gotcha.
open up Safari
Okay.
or Chrome, yeah, either way.
Convert. To ounces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it now.
Yeah, and so just put in 100 grams or 200 grams because that's how many times you're gonna be eating it, right? It's twice. So you're gonna need just put 7 ounces.
Okay.
Yep. And so then
like a pound or
that's
half a pound.
half a pound. So I would buy I would just buy like pound of chicken and freeze half.
I usually just buy the big bulk and then I just put it in little zipper bags and freeze it.
Exactly. So that would be right on the spot. And so you just do that same thing. With cherries, you would do it in, you could convert it, depending on how you buy cherries, you convert it to pounds. Just because like you put it on the scale at the little place and then it tells
Yeah.
you how much in pounds it is.
Gotcha.
But when you go to eat it, you'd weigh it in grams on the scale.
Okay.
Hmm.
My kitchen scale has grams or ounces. So.
Perfect.
But I have them for my hair stuff too, because you gotta weigh the
Mhm.
products and it's always in grams.
Perfect. Good. All right, where are we at, guys?
Oh, wait.
We're just making our list now.
Your list?
We have a lot of stuff already down, so we just gotta
Yeah.
find like the
Right.
mainly like the produce and
You
stuff.
guys looked before you came here, though, right?
Yeah.
Solid. I forgot to send that in text, so I'm glad you guys did. But you guys aren't lost. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're good. Okay. You're gonna have to edit so much. You're like, I'm just gonna put this on.
Yeah, I'll just make you look longer,
No, I don't care either. So we're all good. Tom, you've had your bag on for like 30 minutes. You ready to go?
Yeah,
You know exactly what you're eating next week?
no, I just got back from Richmond, so.
This is the perfect opportunity to plan for the week.
Look at my face. Look at my face.
Got him.
It doesn't zoom in as much as you think it does. It's actually a really shallow lens.
That's me. I prefer the bright.
But did you gain what you wanted from the event?
Yeah.
What were you hoping to gain?
Nothing.
And it goes up on my screen.
Then what did you gain? Did you have any questions answered?
No, because I didn't have any questions.
Okay.
Well, it's all stuff.
Okay.
I was just seeing if there was anything more that I could keep. But like extend my knowledge base. Right?
Fair.
But it's all like
I mean,
stuff that are like,
we'll probably move into like more advanced stuff like as we go through and develop through workshops. But where everybody's at right now, it's just like that, getting like that solid education level.
that's why I just want to see like where.
What would you be curious about nutrition-wise that you'd like to see a workshop on?
I think it's more strategies because
Like dieting strategies?
no more of, like easier ways and there might be what I've done before with like for meal prepping is
It's not
basically just eating a giant macro micro list of everything that I add to the thing, and then I just divide it by how many portions. Right, just doing it that way. So then I know that every single portion is like X. And then I just put it into the, like I was using MyFitnessPal. Was it MyFitnessPal? Whatever app I was using. And then I meticulously uploaded every single like,
Recipe?
piece of information for each serving. That way.
Mhm.
And so I just kept that.
Yeah. So you just did what I did in reverse, right?
Yes, what you did in reverse. So I take the entire meal, like everything that I put into the meal, right? And so if I know that for this batch it was X amount of calories, proteins, fat, saturated fat, all the way down the line. And then I was like, okay, I'll divide this by 5 or 6, whatever.
Okay.
I was like, for
That works
this
too.
this serving is X, Y, Z.
Yeah, no, that works too. That's a good strategy. What's up?
Chia seed. Okay, I heard that you have to like really like soak that before you. Is that true?
I don't know.
It depends on what you want to do.
I don't know. It's just on my meal plan.
Is it a chia seed pudding? Or
And banana.
oh, then he's just using it as like a little crunchy crunch, right?
Yeah, it's like an additive.
So
But I heard it's not good for you to eat it when it's not like whatever you need. Like when it's. I heard it's bad for your body. Like it's stuck like in your hand.
if you're not drinking enough water, then it can become an issue. It'd be good for you to not just like dump it on top. You want to sprinkle it on top so it's well distributed. So you're not just like eating a tablespoon of chia seeds like and trying to. Because what will happen is it will encapsulate. Because it'll turn into a gel like a ball,
Yes.
and then break down and then cause some issues. So you really do want to make sure that you're like just distributing it
Okay.
across.
And the other question is,
Yeah, you can sprinkle it dry on your shit as long as you're drinking water. If you want to be safer with it, you let it absorb overnight for 1 tablespoon and 10 to 12 ounces of water, and then you consume it.
But some people do have texture issues.
yeah, I don't like it when it's like all slimy. And
Yeah, so then you wouldn't want to do that. You want dry chia seed.
Just don't like take a tablespoon and just like dump it on top.
Or just don't take a shot.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
Just evenly spread it out. Look a little.
Okay, my last question. Well, no, probably not my last question, but another question. Okay, on one of the breakfasts, you say to have egg whites, oats.
Mhm.
I don't even know. If you say oats, you're talking about like an overnight oats or
It
something.
could be overnight oats. It could be old-fashioned oats, or it could be rolled oats.
Okay, but you're gonna not just eat it just like that, right? You're gonna actually like probably have milk with like add something to it. Or just-
What I would do, or what you would like
What
to
would you
do,
do?
I would just eat it with water. So when I make oatmeal, I like cook it in water and then I just eat it.
Oh, you like cook? I get what you're saying. Got it.
Yeah, I don't add brown sugar or fruit or anything because I don't like hot fruit or stuff. Yeah, I don't like adding hot fruit to I don't like hot fruit and I don't like sweet stuff like that in the morning. So I just eat plain oatmeal and it's fine for me. But if you'd like to add something, then you could add fruit to it. You could add a little brown sugar. You could add a little bit of salt.
I basically just moved it. I moved it to because you had said to have oats or whatever, and then one of my foods, my yogurt,
hmm
and then I added a piece of toast.
Say that again. I didn't hear you. I was looking at you, but I was listening over there.
I moved the oats down to the yogurt, and then I added a piece of keto toast.
Okay. That's okay.
Are you guys listening? They're listening.
They're doing pretty good. Or you planning on coming to the store or no?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But
Okay.
I really did honestly.
You already shopped already?
Yeah, but I didn't get chia seed, I didn't get sweet potatoes, and I didn't get
Quinoa?
I
Okay.
got couscous, but probably not the one you would have got.
You got it in a box, huh? Yeah, no, I wouldn't have got that one.
Yeah, I did. But I didn't see it you know how you can get it? If I went to Sprouts or something, it has in the jug, you can scoop it or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. You're just doing box jumps. This is better than you.
I know.
Oh!
I know.
I gotta go get my kids, but
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yeah, of
and,
course.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. We'll be in touch next week, okay? If you have questions, let me know.
This is the one I think would just kill it.
Yeah, no? Ready to wrap it up, get to the store?
Yeah, I'm waiting on you.
Okay. All right, is everyone's list done? Pseudo lists, fake lists, or real lists, depending on your attention?